Now on Fox 13, 50 years of federal abortion protection evaporates instantaneously.
What the Supreme Court just did was that they chose to endanger the lives of all women.
Overturning Roe versus Wade, the right to an abortion.
I feel like I'm actually having to mourn.
I think I'm just disappointed, honestly.
From the West Coast to the East Coast, Americans remain divided.
This is amazing. This is probably the best day of American history in my lifetime.
Bans poised in multiple states, triggered by today's ruling, and nearly half of states expected to limit abortion access.
Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose, the balance that existed, is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law.
Emotions running high on both sides of the aisle for nearly 2 months following the leaked opinion overturning Roe v. Wade, leading to today's official announcement, an end to federal abortion protections. Thanks for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Jamie Tompkins.
And I'm Hannah Kim. The Supreme Court ruling will cause nearly half of the states to likely ban or limit access to abortion. But here in Washington, our law does not change, with the right to an abortion protected.
That's right. We have team coverage tonight tracking reaction from political officials as well as from the people it impacts the most, the residents of the United States and their medical providers.
But first, we head to Fox 13 political reporter Matt Markovich, who is breaking down the opinion for us. Matt.
And we're going to show you who made that decision. And here are the Supreme Court justices. The top 2 rows are the conservative panel of the justices, and all of them vote to overturn Roe v. Wade, except the Chief Justice Roberts, who's sometimes a swing vote. So that's what the vote was, 5-4. So what does this decision do? Well, the conservative majority of justices overruled Roe v. Wade, which essentially legalized abortions for 50 years. It ended federal constitutional protections for abortion and gave the states the power to regulate abortion. But looking beyond the decision, it laid the foundation for the court to rule on privacy rights, including same-sex marriages. Here's the 16 states that currently protect a woman's right to an abortion, and that includes Washington state. So what does it mean for the women here in our state? The ruling has no effect on Washington's law protecting abortions, which passed in 1970 before Roe v. Wade. And all women have the right to choose, and that includes women who come to the state to seek an abortion.
Washingtonians still have access to a safe and legal abortion based on Washington state law, and we'll do everything we can in our power to make sure that providers here and women who seek an abortion here are protected from any civil or criminal liability from another state.
The Attorney General has assembled a team of 20 people in his office to study legal options to protect women who cross state lines. For example, Idaho has what's known as a trigger law, which automatically bans abortions 30 days from any decision overturning Roe v. Wade. And that was today.
They don't have jurisdiction to criminalize someone or to penalize someone from a civil standpoint here in Washington state.
But politics is unavoidable in such a controversial debate.
So we now need to be committed to this fight to prevent the Republican Party from taking away in the state of Washington this right of choice.
Democratic Congresswoman Kim Schreier warns the state could lose its abortion protections.
And we have already heard from Mitch McConnell that potentially on the agenda, should Republicans take control of the House and the Senate, would be to impose a national ban, which would essentially do away with any protections we have in Washington state.
Look, I believe it does belong in the state.
In an interview done before the ruling, the prospective Republican candidate for senator, Tiffany Smiley, who is pro-life, said she'd advocate for women in her own way.
Especially as a woman, as a mom, I understand this, and I believe, women that have access to treatment, resources, care, anything they would need in that time of need will make the best decision.
Her opponent, incumbent Democrat Patty Murray, says the real fight is now on to prevent a federal ban from happening.
It is a very real possibility, and we have to make sure we are electing people who will enshrine Roe in law and not allow that to happen.
And coming up at the half hour, we'll have more about the tentacles that this ruling can have into the laws that protect your privacy, and the governors of Washington and Oregon and California and their plan to help women to seek abortions in their states. Back to you.
Well, some states are wasting no time taking action. In Missouri, the governor issued a proclamation just minutes after that Supreme Court ruling, banning all abortions except in cases of medical emergency. There are no exceptions in the cases of rape or incest.
Across the country, a lot of feelings and emotions about today's decision in D.C. Many here in our area are finding themselves on either side of this issue. Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman joins us live in downtown Seattle, where a demonstration, obviously behind you, is happening right now.
Alejandra, you spent the day talking with people who are pro-choice and pro-life. How are they responding to this decision tonight?
All right. Jamie Hannah, I can tell you it's been an emotional day. Some anxiously awaiting for Roe versus Wade to be overturned. But if you take a look around, I mean, these are the people that have been fighting for reproductive justice. They say today is a day of grief, fear, uncertainty. After this landmark decision has been announced, now Washington, as we continue to remind you at home, remains a safe haven state, a place where any pregnant individual in and out of the state can come and get an abortion and be fully protected.
This is unacceptable.
I feel sad and I feel afraid to really be in a place in a country that has taken away equal protection under the law for most of the country.
Kia Guarino is a woman first. Today's decision hits close to home. As an activist, reproductive justice is something she says she's been called to follow.
It talked about abortion not being part of our nation's history when that isn't true. It's a very selective interpretation.
The 5-4 decision, she says, is forcing pregnant individuals to travel hundreds, if not thousands of miles to get access to health care. Abortions.
It means that our maternal mortality rate will go up significantly.
A fear several organizations and clinics, including Cedar River and Planned Parenthood and the Northwest Abortion Access Fund, say is only one of the many consequences of the ruling. While they've been preparing for this for years, pro-choice leaders say their plans have been expedited.
We have already been seeing patients from out of state at an increasing number. Even dating back to the Texas SB 8 decision.
ACLU says this is a much bigger problem than what they're faced with, as they anticipate a dramatic increase in patients traveling to Washington to seek care.
That means we may not have enough resources and abortion providers who can actually provide the care we need. And it puts a huge strain on the clinics.
While the next few weeks and months will be telling, the Northwest Abortion Access Fund says this is a regional issue. Currently, 54% of their clients live in Idaho, and 25% of those usually have to travel outside of Idaho to get an abortion.
For us, today is a day of great grief for ourselves, for our clients.
They say funding is and will continue to be an issue for millions seeking abortions. While Washington leaders are already gearing up for a legal battle to protect clinics, providers, and patients, some agree with today's verdict.
People from different states will fly to the state that abortion is illegal, whatnot. I'm a little torn apart about that.
Why?
Because I was going to abort my child out of fear.
Elizabeth Kim, Miss Washington Universe Transcontinental 2022, says her son is now 11 years old. She carried her pregnancy to term after seeing her unborn baby in her womb. She supports the higher court's decision.
The young citizens who doesn't have a voice yet, doesn't have a even chance to leave. This is completely not right.
Well, we can work with that. We're like, so when we want to move our stage like out to the street impromptu, they're like, no, okay, we can work with that. So like, well done.
Now tonight, many are pushing for education and adoption to help expecting individuals, but people out here, you can see that they're going to keep chanting "My body, my choice." Adoption saves lives, and healthcare is a right, in hopes that they keep fighting for bodily autonomy. Now, the one thing that both sides can agree on is that you can make your voice heard come November at the polls. In Seattle, Katherine Guzman, Fox 13 News.
Alejandra, thank you. So right now we head to AJ Janeville, who is also downtown at a pro-choice rally. AJ, set the scene for us.
And behind me, at least 1,000 folks, probably more. They've been out here since around 5 o'clock. I got a chance to speak to some of these people from all over Western Washington who tell me they came out here, they saw that ruling. The first thing they woke up, they tell me the emotions they feel are anger. Some of them feel, they say, even defeated after fighting for nearly 2 months, hearing that original ruling leak. But even though they feel down today, they say that's not going to stop them from fighting. This rally has been going on since 5, and in the last few minutes I want to show you the change that has happened here on 2nd Avenue and Madison Street. They have the road blocked. Cars are being diverted down Madison Street. Marcus, if you show the folks a little bit to the left, just the scale of this rally here. What the protesters said is they're going to stay in the streets, Hannah and Jamie, for 49 minutes. They say the relevance of that time is how long Roe v. Wade was the law of the land. They say they're trying to get attention to what they're doing, this roadblock, causing issues on a Friday at rush hour traffic. As you see here, it has been closed for about 20 minutes. We're going to stay out here and continue to report on this protest. Reporting live in Seattle, I'm AJ Janovel for Fox 13 News.
AJ, thank you. We're hearing from doctors as well who say this ruling could have a negative impact on an already stressed out healthcare system here in our state.
Fox 13 News reporter Frankie Thompson continues our team coverage after speaking with healthcare professionals. Frankie.
UW Medicine is reaffirming its support for abortion care, saying it's an important part of reproductive health care services. But doctors tell me this ruling could significantly limit services for existing patients and those who may travel here for care. With the nation's constitutional protections for abortion ending in some states, doctors with UW Medicine say this will disproportionately affect women, people of color, and those who can't travel for medical care.
Health for women and pregnant people is so important that we cannot ignore or deny it. And really, access to adequate health, which includes abortion care, is a human right that we are now being denied.
Doctors say they worry the ruling to overturn Roe versus Wade will be life-threatening.
Pregnant people are the ones who are going to bear these consequences. And we are going to see increased maternal morbidity and mortality.
Doctors say that risk of maternal morbidity and mortality is even greater for women experiencing ectopic pregnancies.
If a pregnancy outside the uterus continues to grow, it can really essentially cause death. It's the #1 reason why people of reproductive age, women of reproductive age, die, is due to ectopic pregnancy. So it is concerning that people are not going to get care in a timely manner.
Abortion care remains legal in Washington, but now that other states can ban it, doctors say they fear an influx of people will come here to receive care, adding more stress to an already strained healthcare system.
The Guttmacher Institute has estimated that the number of patients who will come to our state will increase by almost 400%. So providers in the state are going to have to care for these patients, and it's going to affect patients who are already in this state, that they may not be able to get access to abortion services with such a huge influx.
The concern is that influx could be followed by more restrictions in the healthcare system.
There's so much concern and discussion about what we can even legally do for patients coming from out of state. It just creates a whole mess of regulations and complications for people doing abortions and primarily for people who are needing abortions.
The Supreme Court ruling does not affect access to Plan B or other forms of contraception. However, health experts tell me they are afraid that could be next on the docket for further restrictions. Reporting in Bellingham, Frankie Thompson, Fox 13 News.
Well, coming up, we are continuing to track how the overturn of the landmark 1973 case will impact the nation. Details ahead on what it could mean for midterm elections.
And we are tracking that summer warm-up for this weekend. We are going to get into the 80s and 90s. Today we hit 77. We'll have all the details of where we're going and what you need to plan ahead.
The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion!
That was the reaction from people outside the Supreme Court who support the fall of Roe versus Wade. Right now, many states are in the middle of midterm elections, with abortion access now a crucial topic for voters at the state level.
Yeah, that's right. Matthew Smith is in the newsroom with the numbers from a recent poll, Matthew, about how today's ruling could actually impact elections.
Yeah, Hannah, Jamie, midterm elections are already underway in the U.S. In fact, many states have held them. Others will do so soon. But people are asking a big question right now. Will this Supreme Court ruling impact the way people vote? Well, a recent poll of 1,000 registered voters done before today's ruling, but after that leaked opinion came out, shows it would not influence them. The USA Today and Suffolk University poll found that Americans who oppose overturning abortion rights say they are more concerned about the state of the economy, with 7 in 10 saying the ruling will not impact their decision to vote. Now, of those people, only 16% say abortion is the most important issue when casting that vote. That's the same percentage of individuals who support overturning the ruling. Now, 26% of people who support Roe v. Wade say they will be more likely to vote with this ruling now reversed. Now, of the people who oppose the landmark case being struck down, 63% of them have a friend or family member who has had an abortion. Political experts are predicting this will have a big impact on the race for governors in a number of states, including Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Kansas. So coming up at 6:30, I'm actually going to be breaking down a possible federal loophole here, allowing people to get abortion medication in states where it just became illegal or soon will. Reporting live in the newsroom, Matthew Smith, back to you.
We'll have continuing coverage tonight at 6:30, and we have more coverage online with articles deep diving into multiple aspects of the ruling that'll impact people all across the country. Just head to fox13seattle.com or download the Fox 13 News app for free in the Apple Store or Google Play.
I just believe that a woman should have a choice, and no one else should have any other choice or say in what a woman does with her body, period.
I feel like I'm actually having to mourn because the political aspect of our Supreme Court is very obvious.
I think it's a bad decision. I feel like women should have the choice to do what they want with their bodies.
I think I'm just disappointed, honestly. I think the right to choose it was a constantly protected right for a reason.
It starts with this, and then it's going to just get greater. What else are they going to, tell us that we can and cannot do?
I guess Mr. Clarence Thomas has decided that they should reconsider contraceptive access. It's like, okay, let's imprison women in their bodies. It's going back to, way 1800s and earlier and making women second class.
It feels like we keep moving backward and keep limiting people, so it seems like there's an agenda that's being pushed by one side, frankly. So I do see how this could set back society even further.
Her body, her choice, and no public person or government should say what you can do with it.
Many people are having emotional reactions to today's decision by the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade.
And it has a wider implication than just a woman's right to choose. Many who have read the ruling say it may open the door for future rulings on gay marriage and other personal freedoms.
Matt Markovich is here with more on what the governor of all the western states are doing in light of this ruling.
It's a lot, and a lot to take in for just even the 3 governors of the western states. Here's the side of today's ruling: a woman's right to do whatever they want with their body is one side, the legality of taking an unborn fetus is another, and many say the ruling means, like that woman was just talking about, personal privacy is now at stake.
I feel like the ruling itself is terrifying.
Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal admits she had an abortion.
This is a fundamental freedom that is intensely personal, that nobody should be able to make except the person at the center of it.
But reading deeper into the court's opinions, including one from conservative Justice Clarence Thomas, she and other state lawmakers believe the decision opens the court to discard precedent and overturn other decisions involving personal choice.
He says very clearly that that has implications for interracial marriage, same-sex marriage, contraception. I'm in an interracial marriage. Does that mean now that that could be criminalized for Americans across this country? In this opinion, and in Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion, the answer is yes.
That's why California, Oregon, and Washington are building the West Coast offense.
All West Coast states have legalized abortions. And now all three governors are announcing a combined effort to protect women from out of state seeking abortion in West Coast states.
The West Coast United States is going to stand strong. We'll fight like hell to protect your rights and your safety.
Washington state will use taxpayer dollars to fund reproductive services for women in state, as well as out of state who cross state lines, and the Attorney General plans to fight states who want to punish them.
They don't have jurisdiction to criminalize someone or to penalize someone from a civil standpoint here in Washington state.
And Seattle's Socialist Council member wants to make Seattle a sanctuary city for women seeking abortions.
Let anyone threatened by draconian anti-abortion laws come to Seattle without fear of prosecution.
And on the other side of the spectrum, Republican Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers from Eastern Washington said the decision gave voice to the voiceless, and quoting here, "This is one of the most monumentous days in American history for the dignity and sanctity of every human life. This is just the beginning of a new era to define the human rights issue of our generation."
Well, Matt, how much is the state expected to spend here on women who are coming from out of state hoping to be able to access abortion?
And that's a question that Governor Inslee is expected to answer tomorrow when he has this big press conference about what the other governors are talking about. It's going to be several millions of dollars, and whether that goes to direct aid to provide abortions, that's what a lot of people are questioning. King County's already suggested that they're going to donate $1 million in taxpayer money to reproductive rights help. So throughout the state, counties are going to maybe start ponying up some money. We're just on the very beginning of this right now.
All right, thank you, Matt, for that insight.
The conservative majority of the Supreme Court shows how extreme it is, how far removed they are from the majority of this country. They made the United States an outlier among developed nations in the world. But this decision must not be the final word. My administration will use all of its appropriate lawful powers, but Congress must act. And with your vote, you can act.
On the national level, President Biden also vowing to ensure women living in states where abortion bans are enacted have the ability to travel out of state if they need the procedure. Today, the streets around the Supreme Court were packed within hours of today's decision, with people who both support and disagree with the ruling, as well as people in political power.
Right now, joining us live from D.C. is reporter Caroline Shively. Caroline, you've been out there all day long. What is the tone from protesters so far?
They're definitely not as feisty as we saw before. At 10 o'clock, the crowd was pretty rocking throughout the day. More and more people came. After people got off work, they came down here. At one point, you see the wall protecting the Supreme Court building back there. It was wall-to-wall people all the way up to where I'm standing now. The crowd within probably the last hour has certainly dispersed. We're told folks will be showing up again tomorrow.
Well, elected officials today also talking to protesters out there. So what are they saying, Carolyn?
Sure, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was out here saying we need to fight. We need you guys in the street to tell Congress, to tell your state legislators that you want abortion to be protected. So they were out here today, but many other legislators are excited. They really loved what the Supreme Court did today. So this could wind up in Congress. Congress certainly doesn't have to act, but if they did, they could put federal legislation in place, and that is what both sides want. Some want this codified to make abortion legal. Others want it banned for the entire United States.
Caroline, we've seen video of a pro-choice protester scaling a bridge in D.C. Do we have any update on that or any other situations like it?
I can tell you that happened about noon local time at the Memorial Bridge. It's just a couple miles from where I'm standing here now. He Instagram lived it, posting on there, look, if I can make it to the top of the bridge, I think you can go out and protest in the streets. No word as of this hour whether he made it down from the bridge. We do know law enforcement officials put an inflatable underneath him, trying to coax him down and make sure he didn't get hurt.
All right, Caroline Shively live from D.C. We thank you for your time. Despite the landmark 1973 case being overturned, there might be a federal regulation allowing people to get abortion drugs.
So that means those abortion drugs could also still be allowed in states banning abortion. Right now, Matthew Smith is in the newsroom with those details. Matthew.
Yeah, in the wake of these rulings, a FDA regulation could still allow women access to abortion pills in states where abortions will no longer be legal. In December of 2021, the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, created a permanent rule that allows patients to receive abortion medication through telehealth appointments, and they can get those drugs by mail. Now, right now, legal experts say it's unclear. This is a legal gray area if states where abortion is illegal would be able to restrict the federal law from the FDA in a post-Roe America. So in a statement from U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, he writes, states may not ban mifepristone based on disagreement with the FDA's expert judgment about its safety and efficacy. Now, mifepristone is a drug that blocks hormones needed for a pregnancy to be viable. When taken with a second drug, that's misoprostol, the two drugs can be used in the first 10 weeks to end a pregnancy. Abortions by medication account for 54% of all abortions that were taking place in the year of 2020. So, according to the Guttmacher Institute, an abortion rights research organization, a total of 19 states require a medical clinician to be physically present when abortion pills are given to a patient. But right now, it is unclear if that rule will change in those 19 states. Something we'll, of course, keep an eye on. In the newsroom, Matthew Smith, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Matthew. And as you can imagine, we are getting a lot of reaction going on across our region following today's significant Supreme Court decision.
That's right. We want to go live to AJ Janavel, who's been out talking to people who have been protesting the situation today. AJ, what are you learning?
Jamie, got a chance to speak to some of the people here behind me about their feelings, their emotions. Waking up today, the first thing that you see is this headline, learning that something that has been around for about 5 decades is no longer the law of the land. I spoke to one person who told me it was just an absolute heartbreak.
Anger. We're going to be doing that. Anger. It's intrusion. It's violation. Like, I feel like people I do not know are in my body making my decisions. So yeah, rage, anger.
That sentiment you hear there is very similar to a lot of the people here behind me, and there is a lot of people behind me, probably thousands at this point, along 2nd Avenue within the last hour. The protest went from the sidewalk out into the street, intentionally shutting the road down. Originally, they said they would stay out here for 49 minutes. 49 minutes, significant to the 49 years that Roe v. Wade was the law of the land. These folks have been out here at this point for about an hour. You see them sitting down, listening to speakers. Right now speaking is Seattle Council member Shama Sawant. Within the last 20 minutes, the crowd grew even larger as a group of probably hundreds, if not 1,000 people marching down 2nd Avenue joined with this group earlier before they actually took to the street. They said they would be prepared to be arrested if they need be. At this point, though, this protest has remained peaceful, other than the headaches that some people might be dealing with as far as traffic on a Friday night trying to leave the city. We're going to stick around here and have a lot more from this protest. Hannah, Jamie.
AJ, thank you. Tonight, the president is calling on Americans to refrain from violence as pro-choice protests spread nationwide. Protests outside the homes of the justices are illegal under a federal statute, but they've been going on since the draft court opinion leaked in May. Just this month, police arrested an armed man outside the home of Justice Brett Kavanaugh for threatening to assassinate him. He's pleaded not guilty. Congress is headed home soon for July break without passing emergency funding to protect the justices. A bipartisan bill passed unanimously in the Senate this week, but it has not been scheduled for a vote in the House. The bill would have delivered $10.3 million to the U.S. Marshal Service and $9.1 million to the Supreme Court to address unprecedented threats. Meantime, reaction from elected officials and Seattle icons and also local organizations is just pouring in this afternoon. That includes information from Seattle-Tacoma International Airport officials. On Twitter, officials wrote, quote, Seattle-Tacoma International Airport welcomes anyone traveling to Washington State for access to safe abortion care. We're here for you, and you are safe here.
We have more coverage online with articles diving deep into multiple aspects of the ruling that will impact people across the country. Head to fox13seattle.com or download the Fox 13 News app free. in the Apple or Google Play Store.